All right. Well, good evening. Happy Monday. Thank you so much for joining us for Coco Coalition's Black Mothers Matter virtual event. This is an annual event that we started last year in the midst of Rona, trying to just create a space for Black moms to gather and share their challenges, frustrations, share resources. At the time, we really focused on how you could keep you and the kids safe. This year, we're going to be focusing on what is self-preservation looking like for you, along with still giving space to, acknowledge the challenges and the frustrations that you might be experiencing during motherhood in general, and especially during this time. So we're so excited to have five ultra dynamic women. They are joining us from all around the country. Of course, they're all mothers, so who knows? There might be a baby, a child on the screen at one point in time. I don't know. And we're okay with that. If somebody got to feed, we're also okay with that. This is just the reality of life. So we just want to first thank y'all for joining us. I'm going to give them all a we're going to give everyone an opportunity to just share a little bit about themselves. But before we get into folks introducing themselves, want to give you the opportunity to take a couple of deep breaths and really think about what is it that you want to take away or experience in this session or in this event. Sorry, I'm a therapist. And want you to set an intention for something that you might want to receive or experience. So I'll just give you a couple of seconds. All right. So it's so important for us always. Coco Coalition is a 501c3 that was established in 2018. And our main objective is to create a space and opportunities, events, resources that contribute to Black women and Black girls' lives that allow them to connect, grow, and thrive. And so we do that through three programmatic focuses: mental health, which is what most of our events fall under, women's reproductive health, which a lot of our events fall under. And in addition to that, we sponsor feminine hygiene product giveaways in Ghana and South Africa, and then also education. And so with that, we have a scholarship fund that we launched last year, giving away scholarships to college women. And of course, these are things that we continue to do. So all of the efforts of our programs are centered around the experiences, the needs, the opportunities that Black women and girls have and possess. So we're so excited to have this event tonight, again, to talk about challenges that you might be experiencing during this time and to just talk about what self-care and self-preservation look like, okay? So going to introduce the panelists and then I'll give them an opportunity to share a little bit about themselves. So let's start with HJ. HJ, hey girl, how you doing? You want to tell the people a little bit about yourself, sis?
Hey, boo, hey. I want to start off by thanking you guys for having me on again this year. Last year, it was an honor to be a part of the panel of amazing women that we had last year, and I'm excited to be on again today. I am Pajira, aka Coach HJ. I've been a personal trainer out in LA for about 8 years now. I remember based on my youngest son's birthday, because it was after I had my fourth child that I got into health and fitness and found my passion in this industry. And then I went on to have two more kids. So I am a mom of 6. I am previously divorced after 4 children and remarried. And yeah, I love what I do, and I'm really excited to just share whatever knowledge I can and be an inspiration and motivation to not just mothers, but women and men as well. Sometimes I throw them in there, but my focus is definitely mothers because I know all the trials and tribulations of being a mom. I was a teen mom. And so my kids range from age 25 to 2 or 3. Yeah, one of those. And
Wonderful. Thank you so much. She has a wealth of information and insight and just so much that she just offers all the time. And I just love it. Thank you so much, sis, for joining us. Jennifer, would you like to go next?
Let me find a way to unmute this. Hi, guys. My name is Jen Jayola. I am a mother of 2. I am a wife. I am a recent business entrepreneur. I started a wig business out of quarantine, and that's just added to so technically I'm a mom of 3 because that works as one of my children, but yeah, I'm one of 5 siblings, so I'm just used to lots of movement and lots of moving parts. And so subconsciously, my life is full of movement and moving parts, with my kids and my husband, but I'm happy to be here. I like people. I haven't seen people in a while. I haven't interacted with, people like my norm. So now that outside is getting ready to open back up, I'm just excited, to bond, to make new friends, to celebrate my old friends, to share my experiences, and most of all, just to break down the borders around what motherhood should look like. The only norm is your own. So I just want to encourage people to just live out your pain, live out your wrestlings, live out the joy, and then knowing that you can do it with someone else. You can always find someone who's going through similar experiences, or you could just bond over the differences. Whatever it is, just get it out and normalize it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right, Crystal.
Hey, happy Monday. As the airplane goes over my house. Hey everyone, my name is Crystal Johnson. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I've been working in nonprofit for more than 10 years, I believe, working with foster youth and adopted youth. I also provide private practice on the side. So I support couples and individuals with counseling. I have been married almost 11 years or 12. I can't keep count these days. This year. And I have a 9-year-old son, 7-year-old son, and a 2-year-old daughter. And I have a bonus teenage daughter. Let's see, I love to help people. I love to be a support and a resource. I play the organ for my father's church, so I'm always busy doing something, even on the weekend. But it's fun to be able to just, live life, So I'm happy to be on this panel. So thank you for having me. And I love to scrapbook. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. Yes. And she's a Zumba instructor.
And I teach Zumba.
You're moving. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, Merritt.
Hi, my name is Merritt, like a scholarship, but not spelled the same way. I am a mother of a wonderful 2-year-old who just turned 2 on Friday. So I'm in all my feels because it's like, how did this happen? I feel like I'm still pregnant. I also am a bonus mom to a 14-year-old boy who is 6'1" now. So we're having a lot of conversations about how you're not a child anymore because you don't look like it. So that's been interesting. Professionally, I have been in HR for about 15 years, both on the career development side and the recruiting side. I work for the New York City Department of Education. So you can imagine how fun that is during a global pandemic. And then on my side hustles, I have about 2.5 side hustles. So similar to Jennifer, I was raised by a single mom, so I don't know what it feels like to have one stream of income. I've always seen her just have multiple streams of income, so I picked up that same habit. And I'm an entrepreneur. I recently started my own business, helping Black and Brown women with career development, and making sure that we know how to advocate for ourselves so we can get these coins. That's one of them. I also consult for diversity to tell white people to get your stuff together. And I also am a media personality for an organization called In Style Atlanta. So I'm all over the place and I love it. And I am here. One, I'm really excited to be here. So thank you guys for thinking of me. Two, it's always nice to see so many Aggies that I haven't seen in so many years. We have strong Aggie pride. And three, I really hope that you guys get a lot out of this and really just like use this as a resource because we're all going through it together.
Thank you so, so much for sharing that. You are just so multi-dynamic. I love it. All right. And last but not least, Ms. Almaz.
Thank you, Coco Coalition ladies, for having me and other dynamic moms, and for all the impact that you're making here in the US and globally. So proud to be here with you all today. My name is Almaz Nugusa Bland. I am out of the Bay Area. I'm a mom of two boys, 2 years old and 4 months. Also can't believe that I'm a mom of 2-year-old. I just feel like, yeah, time just flies when you have children. People say that, but you don't really feel it until you're in the moment with them. I just can't believe he's saying stuff now, and I'm just proud of him. I'm a wife. I'm a therapist specializing in dementia care by the day in a hospital setting, and I am a small business owner by weekends and nights. And my business is called Damla Organics. I'm offering cosmetics, oil mainly for hair for women, men, and children. And I'm also the youngest of 7 children from my parents. And so I'm always in events, birthday parties, and milestones and celebrations. And so my life is super busy. But I'm here today. I'm super excited to be with you, to learn with you, and to share my personal experiences.
Yay! All right. Whew, thank you. I'm so excited. Okay, so what we're really going to do is we're going to ask questions to the panelists. For you who are in the audience, if there's any interaction you want to, yes, and oh my gosh, and I can't believe it, that makes me cry, or, I agree, whatever, imagine like they're there with you and you're having a reaction. We want you to put it in there, like make it as live as possible, okay? Anybody like the type of texter, like as soon as you actually do say something, like you text it or well, that's me. So you could do that, right? We want to feel the interaction, have you here. So any type of real time, responses that you have, we definitely want you to put that in there. Then we're going to actually have space for Q&A. So we do want you to use the Q&A box, and you can enter questions in there. If you have a question about something someone says, or you want them to reiterate something, then, you can definitely put that in there. You can also put it in the chat, but we would prefer for you to put it in the Q&A. Jazz and Mimo are going to be keeping eye of that. And I'll be asking our dynamic panelists these questions, okay? At the end, after Q&A, we're going to give some opportunity for folks to share, about their businesses, about their passions, what they're offering the world, the community, etc. And that's for our panelists as well as you. So if there are any passions, projects, interests that you have that you want to share, we definitely love for you to share. This is something that we do in our live events. It's called Sister Share Out, because we're all about, having Black women connect, grow, and thrive. And they might be here on the panel, but we all have something that we can give and learn and receive from each other. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our first question. Okay, so what are some of the major emotional and mental challenges that you feel Black women and or Black mothers are facing right now? I'm going to start with Merritt.
Made me nervous. No. I think it's a great question. I think when you're talking about being a Black woman in general, there's so many multi layers, and so many things that you're battling. But I think I could say for me and from my perspective, one of the things um, that I think is the hardest is around, I don't want to call them curses, but I want to call them like generational practices that have been passed down from previous generations about what motherhood looks like versus where we are now once we're healed, once we're conscious, once we're aware. And so I feel like a lot of times for me, I'm I'm reevaluating why I am doing something versus um is this what I'm supposed to be doing? So prime example, I would say, and something that always shows up for me is like spankings, beatings, you know what I mean? Like, I'll be like, I was beat as a child. I wasn't spanked. I wasn't spanked. My mother beat me. So a lot of times in a lot of these ways, I feel like these things show up where I'll ask my mom for advice about something that my daughter is doing. And from her generation and with those practices, the answer would be 9 times out of 10, we'll beat them. You know what I mean? Like just spank them. Like that's what it is. And it's like I went to counseling for some of our stuff that we were talking about from my childhood, right? So I'm like, I don't necessarily want to continue those things. And so it's hard because that's what your go-to is. And then it's also uncharted land. Like you have no idea. There's nowhere to like bounce your ideas off of and all of those things. That's in addition to, I think, I think becoming a new mom is the hardest thing that I think I have ever done in my entire life. And I think a lot of that is there's a lot of things that we don't talk about. So like when baby blues turns into postpartum, but you don't know if it's postpartum, but you're bordering the line of postpartum, but you don't know how to have those conversations. Like, and you don't know how long it lasts, and you don't know if you're the only one, and it's like taboo, and like all of those things that are coming out. I think that those are things that are really difficult to deal with. But I would say, like for me, the thing that consistently shows up on every single basis, and I saw someone put it in the chat, it's breaking the cycles that are toxic for especially in Black families, identifying what those things are, and then being very intentional with your child on how you want to ensure that you show up as a mother and how you want to ensure that you show up for yourself as well. Those, I think for me, that's the break.
Oh yeah, girl, that's a whole dissertation and mouthful, okay? Thank you for that honesty and transparency. Jen, do you have any reactions or additional thoughts or anything that you would like to respond?
I mean, you hit a lot of points, and I think the one that stood out was just being intentional, you know what I mean? And you go through so many things of, okay, so what happened in my childhood that I want to correct? And what do I want to make sure, like I instill? And then you have your values of, okay, well, I don't know if those things that my mom did, led me to become the person that I am. So how do I determine which one worked and which one didn't, So those were a lot of good points. I think that for me, one of the biggest issues that moms face is the chronic and consistent transitions, like I'm constantly transitioning into a different phase of my life without me having time to settle into the phase that I'm already in. You know what I mean? And everyone is always talking through, make sure you get married and stay married for a little bit, and then you have the baby. First of all, the way that my life is set up, the way that my energy is set up, I need to have the baby now, and in my head, I just feel like I got it all planned out. And so what motherhood for me, it was just, it still is a reality check even now, like even today and yesterday and the day before. It's always a reality check of every time I feel like, like I have it all planned out and how it's supposed to be. It's just like, you're not in control, remember? So it's taught me to go with the flow because I mean, I've gone through stages where I've transitioned into being a wife, and then I transitioned into being a mom. And by the time I got a hold of being a wife, I was already a mom. By the time I got a hold of being a mom of one, I was already a mom of two. I have two kids. My daughter is 2 and my son is 1, and both of them are just, completely different personalities. And they don't, for half the time, they don't listen to me. I mean, my husband doesn't listen to me. No one listens to me. So I'm just going to throw that out there. So just imagine just being in the house when the only person that listens to you is yourself. That's a lot. So, just going through those transitions, being able to talk through some of the pain is, like it's almost obsolete because I'm moving so fast through these different levels. I really don't have the time to sit down and talk through, like, what am I actually feeling? What am I actually going through? So it causes a lot of people like myself, to experience a portion in their life where they're suffering in silence, like I don't have the time to complain because I'm busy doing. Like I'm trying to prevent myself from getting to this point where I'm off the edge, but yet I want to talk about it. I just don't have the time, and with quarantine, it, completely segregated me from the rest of the world. So, just it's important to identify what some of the setbacks are and find the time, and that's what I've learned to do throughout this whole entire, season of motherhood. I've learned to just find the time. And your body and your mind is such a powerful thing because you learn to adapt to whatever you have. Like I'm Nigerian, by culture, so my mom adapts to anything. So I think that it's in my DNA. Even if it's 5 minutes, I'm going to make that 5 minutes count. I'm going to watch the best scene of my Netflix movie within that 5 minutes to just give me enough, like give me what I need to push forward. So I think that, like the transitions from the different levels of your life is what you don't really factor in, but it's a struggle, like if you don't get a hold of it, it could definitely be a real struggle.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Whew, transitions. All right. I don't know. HJ, are you attending to a little person or the dog?
Either is possible,
Right, okay.
No, I've actually got a big person in my ear.
That's right. All right. That's her eldest daughter. All right. So you want to take a stab at the question. What are some of the major emotional and mental challenges that you feel Black mothers are facing right now?
So for me, something Merritt said kind of hit on. I'm doing a lot of reading some self-help books and self-development, and in my pastime when I have some free time on my hands, I like to listen to something that makes me feel like a better person. And one of this really simple concept of how as adults we discover that our parents were just adults just like us trying to figure shit out, and accepting that they might not have all the answers, have had the answers, and they're just doing the best that they could do. And now as an adult, you have to figure out what's best for you. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. Well, what is that? And so I'm at this place in my life. I don't know how many of you are over 40, but I'm at this place in my life where 40, I had this epiphany of I can do stuff that makes me happy, and I don't have to listen to what's going on in the world. I don't have to listen to what's going on in social media. I don't even have to really listen to what my husband and my kids' needs are if mine aren't met. And for me, that's been it's crazy that we had these conversations in quarantine last year, and we did not think we would still be here a year later, figuring out how to self-care and take care of ourselves. But quarantine really was the eye-opener for me to figure out what made me happy. What do I need in order to keep myself sane while I'm trying to do Zoom calls with the kids? And I got kids in grade school. I got 21-year-old boys trying to figure out what they need to do with their life, and 25-year-old girls trying to figure out how to be a young woman. And I got toddlers. It's like, it's too much. Like I need to know, first I got to figure out what I need as a woman in order to be able to be the best wife that I can be, the best mother that I can be. And I think that's the struggle right now, especially with social media. I mean, we didn't grow up, depending on how old you are, I didn't grow up with social media telling us, what we're supposed to look like, and, what your relationships are supposed to look like, and hashtag relationship goals and hashtag mom goals. And it's really about being able to quiet out the noise and really take time to yourself and figure out what makes you happy, and how and what motherhood looks like for you, what being a wife looks like for you, and not anybody else. That's probably one of the biggest struggles I think a lot of women are dealing with right now. So yeah.
And I think that that's so powerful that you say that, because you technically are an influencer, right? So you probably have people all the time saying to you mom goals and relationship goals, right? And I can imagine that could put extra pressure on you, right? So the fact that you've learned to kind of just navigate silencing it out as much as possible.
It's crazy. Yeah, you mentioned that influencer, and my husband is an influencer as well. And it's really crazy the level of judgment when you are transparent about your life and how you raise your kids, and all these things. And people can be so judgmental. I think we've known that growing up in life. You hear people are mean, but social media adds this whole other layer of people being like, oh no, you should be doing this, and oh, you should be doing that. It's like, what? It's really crazy. Got to this place where I just don't care anymore, though. And it's really a hard place to get to, I will say, but it's some place that everybody needs to get to, where you really have to just silence out what everybody else has to say in order to figure out what works for you, because what works for you is not going to work for the next person.
Yes. And I think that is perfect segue into the next question. What are some feelings or thoughts you have as a mom that you sometimes feel guilty about or are uncomfortable saying out loud? If there are none, how'd you get to that place of being completely honest with yourself? And I know that sometimes saying things aloud does connect to fear of judgment, right? So let's go ahead and start with Crystal. Any thoughts?
Yeah, the first thing that came to my mind, and it's something that I'm still working on, just feeling guilty of not having enough time for my kids. I have the 9-year-old, the 7-year-old, and the almost 2-year-old, and then a bonus daughter who's almost 15. So just trying to spread my time amongst them, different ages and genders, as well as work, and being present for my other, professional setting where I have to be present for my clients, just wanting to make sure that I'm giving them what they need. At one point in time, I remember, I think a few weeks ago, my son said, Mom, when did you, it came out the blue, when did you lose your virginity? And I said, what? Yeah, that's what I said. And I said, and you know what I did? I canceled all my sessions for the day. I said, oh no, we need to spend some time together and just check in. And of course, you don't want to react in a certain way to the point where I don't want him to not want to come to me again. But I also wanted to give him that space to just, where'd you get that from? And what understanding that do you have currently to make you ask that question? So knowing when to just take a break and have some one-on-one time with your children. Yes, we do the best that we can throughout the day, especially if you're homeschooling. They with you 24/7. And so it can be exhausting just showing up for them, making sure they're in class and doing your own thing and trying to do your Zoom stuff. But I would say the biggest thing for me that I still struggle at times is just making sure that I feel like I'm giving enough quality time. And I've gone to the place where I'm saying, you know what, I'm doing the best that I can with the resources that I have. And at the end of the day, I want them to enjoy them being who they are as a person. And so I'm going to make sure they have good moments and good memories. I may not have all the money in the world. We can go to Hawaii every year, but guess what? We're going to go camping and do something else, or camp out in the front yard and have a good time, And so I think that just making sure that you're doing the best that you can with the resources you have, and knowing that sometimes you may just need a day for yourself. I've always said that in order to show up for others, you have to show up for yourself, and I know that I think any one of us can testify on this panel that we can't give unless we give to ourselves. You can't give to others unless you give to yourself. So I know that's another question coming down the line, but self-care is really important, and making sure that you don't feel guilty about having that self-care, because if you don't take care of yourself, who's going to take care of you? So just making sure that you're spending quality time with your family, but also recognizing that you need time for yourself to grow, to rejuvenate, and to be present for your family is really important.
Thank you so much for that. Is there, I mean, whether now or even when you first became a mom, is there anything that you felt really uncomfortable admitting or sharing with anyone because you felt like, oh, I'm not supposed to feel this way or say this, or I don't want someone to judge me?
I think one of the pressures that I had when I had my oldest son is going back to work so early. I felt really guilty about that. And granted, I just started that job, and as a working mom, you feel like you have to be superwoman at times, and and you feel like sometimes you can't have it all. And so I did feel guilty about, okay, if I want to bond with my baby, I need to go back to work.
Okay.
And so I felt guilty about that for a while. Now, granted, he's doing his thing, he's all right. But 9 years ago, that was something I really felt, that tug of
like
finding
you had to
balance.
choose.
I felt like I had to choose, and luckily my mom was able to take care of him. But I just can't imagine, some females really have to. Some mothers have to, start work early, and they're dropping their child off with a non-family member. So just feeling guilty about choosing work versus family.
Thank you for that. I'm sure that is definitely a common sentiment, right? Because people go back to work for different reasons. Some people go back to work because they actually love working, right? And they could feel guilty because they like working and want to go back to work. And people are like, but don't you want to be with your baby? Right.
You schedule breaks when you go to work.
And then some people, they go back to work because they don't have a choice, right? Like they have to go back to work, right? And what it would mean if they built up this whole career and they really want to spend more time leaning into motherhood, right? Like that's even something that could be challenging for someone's identity, So thank you so much for sharing that. Almaz, what about you? What are some?
Yeah, no, I'm just listening. Like, I've been doing this in the background. Like,
So I'm just gonna repeat the question. But what are some feelings or thoughts you have as a mom that you sometimes feel guilty about or comfortable saying aloud? And if there aren't any, how'd you get to that place of being completely honest with yourself without judgment?
Yeah, I think I'm at both. I have feelings of guilt, and I also have found peace in some areas, and I'll share both. I'm originally from Eritrea, where my mother had 7 kids with the community to support her. She could literally leave us with a neighbor and be gone. Not that she did that, but it was that safe, right? There was not this. If any of you traveled to Africa and you've known community, right? But here we don't have that. I don't even know my neighbors. I don't even know some of their needs, right? And so I have to be forced to create, as we all do, my own community, and also just accepting the fact that it's lonely sometimes, and it's isolating, right? To be in this community where you have people but you can't see them with COVID, and you can't even hire help if you want to, if you can even afford it, and so it can feel a whole, like you're stretched in many directions between career and side jobs, and which are things our parents didn't have. They had community, but my mom didn't have a career. She raised 7 of us, which is like 8 jobs within itself, right? But here we are with multiple kids, multiple jobs, and a whole other responsibilities, and so it can feel like am I doing it right? Like how could how could these other women raise 8, 10, 12 kids? Like how is it that 2 kids overwhelm me so much? I love them, I'll give them my world. Sometimes it can feel like Like you literally go until noon without even taking a shower because you have to attend to their needs. And so it's a constant place of let me pause, like let me prioritize what have I done for myself today, and what have I done to, to feed my soul and to be able to remember yourself. I think that motherhood is a constant learning, the opportunity to learn about yourself and about the people in your life, and to manage your time and your emotions and to not compare. I feel like that's a big thing in the motherhood community, is like it's a huge comparison because, as someone mentioned earlier, social media is a beast. Like you don't know the full story. You just see a 5 second, of what person chooses to share, but you don't know what's going on behind the back scenes of that photo they just shared, what emotions. You don't even know if that photo is from today or last year. So it's really important to separate yourself from what you see on the screen, what the person chose to share with you, and just it's a constant learning, and just giving yourself grace and being honest with yourself is that, everybody gets overwhelmed. You can get overwhelmed. Sometimes it gets hard. You don't know everything. So ask help, outsource if you have to, some things, and some things can wait. Like wait to, clean the house because your children need you to just have skin to skin. I have a newborn, so he's often needing to be on my chest. And you know what? If I take a picture like this, you don't want to know what's behind that camera. I bet it's a mess, but it's okay. I'll clean up when they're down, or just being able to be gracious with yourself, like how neat I was last year with one child is different than now, right? Like, and just being okay with just prioritizing those moments, because I feel like you learn so much after you have one child. You just revisit photos, like, how did we get here? Like, I need to spend time with the second one more because they grow up. Like, you really it just flies. Time just flies with kids. I can't believe that. But I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And this is wonderful how graciously you are just leading into next questions. Next question is actually about support. What are the most important forms of support for you and why? Let's go ahead and start with Jennifer. What are the most important forms of support for you and why?
I think for me, so I have a science background. So I'm associate director of a pharmaceutical at a pharmaceutical company. So everything is like clinical research. So, there's lots of research that goes into my everyday life on and out of work. So I think that for me, support is more of informational based support and like influential based support. So I like to hear that it can be done, like not, I mean, I love encouragement, right? Like, I love for my friends to encourage me, but I have to tap into my own research to say, oh, it can be done. And this is the plan of how it's going to happen. Like this person did it and they went to this, place, and then they researched this and then they were able to draft this. So, like this is the route that I'm going to go. I need to see it on paper, and when I am looking for support, I need more than you can do it. Like I need a breakdown. Like I need you to help me. Like I need the real support, because times when you are, in a place where you're needing someone to encourage you, it's going to take more than just general words, right? Besides, like, I'm sorry that you're going through this, or, you got it, girl. Like sometimes I need someone to break it down and give me what I need, which is a plan. I need you to encourage me that I can create that plan, because it's not always something that I'm looking externally, but just the encouragement that, hey, like you're the one who goes and researches everything and tells me how to do it. So why don't you just start off here? Start off with a Google search and it'll take you where you need to go. You know what I mean? And then also, instrumental support where you just do, like I need the day off. Like I need you to give me the morning off so I can do whatever I want. Like the importance is having a village that you can tap into, to be able to do that. Because when I was going through my postpartum, when I had Zoe, my firstborn, I was in the midst of family, but I was struggling in the midst of family because it's not the support that I needed, right? It's just that the support that they were willing to give because they gave the best support that they knew how. But I've grown since I was a kid. Like you can't expect your mom and your aunts to know the support you need. And Betty can't take off of work. Betty's my best friend. She can't take off of work, for 4 months to support me, but she understands what I need. So you have to have that village to be able to give you what you really need, not what you've accepted. And I've always been such an accepting person where it's whatever you give me, I'm so gracious for it because it's better than nothing. Like you took the time out to support me the best way you knew how. And I end up supporting them to support me. You know what I mean? So I end up making sure that they feel grateful for supporting me. But there's times where I need the real one, like the one that you don't get anything back. I need the real support where I will actually relieve something in me where I don't feel like I have to over thank you. And, like my husband has saved me, like he has been forced to learn me and who I am and know that I don't have to necessarily ask for support to give support. He knows how to gauge my attitude level. And once I respond a certain way, it's just like, how about the day off? How about that? Yeah, I'd like that, And it's just like, whenever he sees me getting to that place, now he knows my triggers more than I do. You know what I mean? Like, oh, are you hungry? I'm not hungry. I'm on a diet. Why would you ask me if I'm hungry? But then when I eat, I was just like, whoa, guess what? Turns out I was just hungry. Like he knows when it's coming. And I didn't even know that he knew that, because he forgets our anniversary. So the fact that he's being able to pick up on things and know when to come and like swoop the kids and say, we're going to the mall, stay there, and I need that. That's the support that I need because when they're gone, I'm living my life, like I'm living my life, I'm in my robe, and it's only for an hour or two, but turns out that's all I need. Because when the kids come back, it's just like, wow, I missed you guys. Tell me all about it, like, and so being able to trade off that type of support, like it allows me to understand what type of support I really need versus what type of support I was receiving in the past. So just learning myself and also, like it helps me in different aspects of my life, not just motherhood.
So for you, it sounds like someone taking over your task or giving you actual space to breathe and decompress.
Exactly. And there's not many people that can do it, which is like the support doesn't really come easy, right? There's a lot of people. When I say taking over, I don't mean taking the kids and then they're crying when they're getting in the car with you, because I'm not getting the relief that I need.
Yeah.
Like I'm not necessarily saying take them to daycare or have one of my friends, like stop by because I'm worried about whether they're comfortable. I'm worried about eating. I need someone that already understands my routine to leave me physically and mentally, for me to know, oh, they're going to be okay, like they're used or they're used to that. So
yeah.
And that's not something that you can get very often because there's not many people physically here, at least, that's close enough that can do that. My family is all of them are in California, so when they do come over, it's great. I take advantage of it. But when they're not here, it's just, just me and my husband for the most part. We have a couple of other people that we can rely on, but it's routine just to have that routine support because every Tuesday and Wednesday I'm off, like I have kids, but I don't know where they are, and like my husband has stepped up to be able to give me that. And then I can kind of cover the rest.
Wonderful. Thank you. HJ, what about you? What does support look like for you?
For me, I have to say, even though, he's on my shit list today, my husband happens to be my amazing support system. He is by far so helpful when it comes to taking care of the kids. one of the things, it actually ties into the previous question about, what do you feel guilty about, or what can you say out loud? And for me, I've had to really hone in on having issues with our roles being reversed. He spends a lot more time at home with the kids. He works from home, whereas I'm out training most of the time, and I'm constantly kind of on the go between personal training and running my apparel business, which I also started during quarantine because, I felt like I needed something else on my plate. And so he spends a lot more time with the kids. And something that Jennifer said is, my kids tend not to, well, the smaller ones don't listen to me as much as they listen to dad. And I've had to deal with the fact that, well, dad's usually the one who's at home. And so his support for me really does consist of, okay, she's tired. Let me take the girls in their room and, read them a story or whatever, put them down for a nap and let her take a nap. Look, my naps give me a complete life, and I have no issue or qualm admitting that I take a nap every day with the kids. And so, and my oldest, she's part of my support system when she's here. And, it's my job as a mom to be support for her. But now that she's an adult and she knows me and she knows how I parent, she's really helpful with the kids. If we need someone to watch the kids and we go out on a date night, or we just need some time alone, it's helpful to have her. And then my best friend, I truly hope that every woman has a best friend that they can call and just be completely vulnerable and feel like they're not being judged. Just having somebody to listen is helpful for me. I'm the kind of person where if I just say it out loud and get it off my chest, then I'm like, okay, now I can go on with my life and I'm completely okay. So I think it's so important. The older I get, the smaller my circle gets. When I was younger, I felt like I had to have a bunch of friends and I wanted everybody to like me. And now it's kind of like, yeah, I really don't care, as long as I just got one or two people that I can just call and be like, all right, I need to be completely vulnerable and tell you how much I don't like this and I don't feel like this and I don't like that. And they just go, okay. My best friend and I have gotten to a place where sometimes I have to be like, I'm not looking for a resolution. I'm not looking for an answer. I just want you to listen. So that gets me through some of my really difficult days, and to be able to just be honest about whatever it is I'm feeling. One of the other things that I want to just be able to say out loud, and I want every woman to know that it's okay to feel like your kids get on your nerves and you don't like them today. If you feel that way, it's okay. I feel like that on a regular basis. And I don't always want to be a wife. Some days I really, I contemplate being single, and I think that's okay. But I'm going to stay here. I'm going to stay here. And some days, as you mentioned that I'm a social media influencer, which is, a vast, whatever it means. I want to pour into people, and I want people to feel happy and encouraged and motivated. Some days I don't feel that way. And I think it's okay to not just share the days where you feel amazing and wonderful on social media, but to also let people know that it's okay to wake up and just feel like absolute shit. And despite the fact that everybody thinks because of the shape I'm in that I work out 6 days a week and I eat broccoli and salads and kale, no, I like to have a drink every once in a while. And sometimes I wake up and I say, I don't want to do this today. And it's okay. And so, yeah, I wanted to say that out loud because in case anybody else has those feelings, it's okay. We're in this together. But yeah, get you somebody, even if amazing groups like this. And again, Coco Coalition, I appreciate that you have a panel like this where we Black mothers can come on here and put these feelings out there into the world. And you all know that you're not alone.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you. Thank you. So much different support, which is important, right? Like everyone is different, right? Some people like the words of affirmation. Some people like people coming to take over things, right? Some people just want a space to vent, right? So thank you so much for sharing that. Jen?
Yeah. And I am a firm believer of having that support system, like I mentioned, like when I had Zoe, I had lots of people around me, but I didn't really feel the relief of support. And I now have a nanny, and she is the most amazing nanny. I mean, I knew that she was an angel. I mean, I prayed about her. Like I prayed about her before I had my first daughter. I prayed about her when I got pregnant with my, my second child, because those are the things that I think about. Like, how am I going to be able to do this? While keeping my goals at my forefront, right? The self-care part, but then also meeting my, my goals as a mom and meeting my goals as a wife. And if it can't be done, figure it out. Remember the Nigerian in my blood, make it work. You know what I mean? So I budgeted in, me and my husband budgeted in, and we knew that we needed this. We knew that, the consequences of having a child so soon after marriage was that we might lose our spark. So, like we need to set, boundaries in place for how to consistently keep that spark going. And I can't do that with two kids by myself, in Maryland, thousands of miles away from, people that I can rely on, because there's times where he relieves me and I relieve him, but how do we get relief together? Like how are we going to figure this out to keep this, tied, to keep this knot tied? So we have a nanny and she's great. Like she's not Nigerian, because I can't tell my auntie what to do. So she's Senegalese. So she teaches Zoe and the kids French, and like they speak French primarily as their main language, but they understand us because we incorporate the English. And like we go on our date nights, and sometimes we forget that we even have the luxury to do so, right? Because quarantine has us thinking that, there is no nanny, it's just us and the kids because we see them so often. But just to know that in the back of our heads, if we want to plan something, we can, like if we wanted to go to the movies, we can. But just, like we know how blessed we are. But, there's pros and cons to it. Like it's expensive, like you have to factor in, like caring for someone else the way that you care for your mom, because we care for her because we appreciate how she cares for our kids, so like it's easily a member of our family. But if you need help, girl, do it. Like I have.
And if you can't afford a nanny, if you plan it out right. So if you have a baby at 16, like I did, then you have a 25-year-old who you ain't got to pay to do what a nanny would do.
Okay. And there's resources that will support the payment costs of a nanny, that will support daycare. There's, free daycares. You just got to work with what you got. You know what I mean? Like there's no right or wrong way to care for your child. Whatever it is, figure it out. Like don't be afraid to Google. I'm a research by trade. If you guys need to tap into me. I will research that program in your area and give you the deets and maybe even apply for you. Look, girl, you get $50 off a week. Like that's just what I do. That's what I do. Like you're never too good to get a discount.
Yeah. And thank you so much for that transparency, because I think that, no, I'm not a mother, right? So this is more so from observation, because all people around me are mothers. But this notion that if I don't do it all, then something's wrong with me, right? And so Black women, if they can afford asking for help or paying for help, I think that it's something that can be leaned more into, right? Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's a housekeeper once a month to do a deep clean of the house. It don't matter if it's a nanny. Things are so different that we don't really have multi-generational homes anymore. People are so separate, so you don't typically have parents and grandparents taking care of kids anymore. Some people do. Some people have the blessing of that, right? But yes, hiring a chef, like any service that you do for yourself, if you have the ability to pay somebody, and it's not going to, be completely overwhelming for you, definitely, yes. Thank you so much for saying that. I'm going to take this next question and give it to Merritt and Almaz, because I know that they need to leave early. Let's go into let me ask you, do you want to talk a little bit about what self-care is looking like for you right now, or you want to talk about what readjustment to normal is looking like?
I can talk about self-care. I don't there's no,
okay.
I don't know what normal is,
Okay. What I mean? All right. No problem. So what is self-care looking like for you nowadays?
So I would sum it up like in two different ways. So I would say one, it has to do, um, I like to call them time confetti. And so essentially, time confetti is like when you have like 20 minutes and you know you're going to have 20 minutes to yourself, right? Doing something literally for yourself in that 20 minutes. So, me, and I'm sure all of us on this panel, because we have multiple things going on, which means we have multiple lists, multiple calendars, multiple priorities, all the things. So, one of the things I like to do, because I am an excessive planner, it's probably a problem, is I like to make sure that I like plan out all of my things ahead of time. I just saw Jenna. I just saw Jen's chat. Oh God. Okay, Michael B. Jordan. Although I'm more of a method man type of girl myself, but that's another story for another day. And he's 50. Sorry. Okay, let me get back to this question. So self-care for me looks like knowing what I need to do that day, because I think the thing for me is like I feel guilty for not getting things that I want for myself done. And so how I've tried to combat a lot of that has to do with, okay, if I were to just put my list somewhere on my phone, and when I have these like, time confetti times, let me go to this time and like let me etch out this one thing, because I feel so much gratification when I actually have that thing done. So that's like one huge thing. The second thing is, and y'all gonna think I'm crazy, but I'm part of the 5 a.m. club. It is the best club ever. I get up at 5 in the morning, sometimes 5:30, and I have a good 2 hours to myself every morning. I'm not a wife. I'm not a mother. Don't nobody need nothing from me. Don't nobody ask me for okay. I just get up in my PJs, no bra on, okay, breath probably still musty, and I do whatever I want in those 2 hours. Usually for me, self-care is I have to journal. I need to get my emotions out. Like, let's like, how am I feeling right now? What am I like? What do I want? To Tiffany's great thing of grounding of like, what is my intention? Like, what is it that I like specifically want right now for my business, for myself, for my life, for my family, for my daughter, like all of those things. I journal. I also meditate, because it really is like I need that time to just pause my mind, because it be going off. Sometimes I exercise, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I like to veg out on Instagram, sometimes I like to veg out on YouTube, sometimes I like to actually be productive and do something for my business, whatever it is. I know my daughter's not getting up between until 7 or 7:30. So I personally I look forward to my 5 a.m. sessions, because nobody's gonna bother me. And it's fantastic. I encourage every woman to do it. I know it's not realistic. I think that was like a quarantine thing that I did. I think once we transition back, I probably I won't have as much time, but I'm still, yeah, I like to get up early where nobody bothers me and leaves me alone. It's amazing.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Before I go to Almaz, is there anything that you would like to share with the folks before you, um, go home? I mean, you are home, but you know what I mean.
I am home. Um, I would just say the best thing is, and I'm gonna just change my name so that it's consistent for my social media. But the best thing is to like reach out to me on my social media, Merritt Fields. If there was like a question, if there's like something you else want to talk about, if there was something like, girl, I thought I was the only one, you're not. Feel free to reach out. I would love to speak with you all, panelists included. It's so good to be reconnected to folks as well. And let's continue the conversation, because I don't think that it ends now, just like motherhood never ever ends.
Amen. Thank you so much, sis. Hope you
Thank
have a
you.
good night. um, Amaz, what about you? What is self-care looking like for you nowadays?
Yeah. First, I just want to acknowledge all this gem that's being shared in this group. I'm like writing down Jennifer's message about how do we, get a relief together, because that just hit home for me. Like, how do you get help together? Because you feel like as a couple, you just need to go on E pretty much. You can't do that. And so I appreciate all the things that are being shared in this group. And yes, I do have to head out in a few minutes, but I have a few more minutes that I can even go back to your previous question, which is, what's the most important form of support for me and why? I think that, again, my husband is very hands-on. No work is ever too small for him. He just gave the newborn a bath and he's going to give the other one a bath. And so just being on the same flow with him and understanding, we can look at each other and know if one of us needs a nap. And so just getting each other, as much as he gets on my nerves too, as someone said earlier, but it's so important to know when your other half is on E, right? Like, cause that's when you're like on edge. That's when you're, just being able to understand each other. I have a community of mom friends, or also just women friends, some of which are in this group. And Michelle Obama always says women should have posses of group of women, and she's our forever, first lady. So we listen to what she says. And so I'm always remembering that, like, am I tapping into the women in my life? And it's always a no judgment zone with the women in my life, right? I can hit up one of the women that I have in my life, and I can just say things that are frustrating me or that are bringing me joy. And I'm always going to leave out of that place feeling recognized and feeling empowered. Whereas other spaces, I feel like Black women get me. I feel like Black moms get me even more. And it's so important for me to keep those relationships tight. In these spaces, we always feel like we're seen, whereas other spaces, it's like, oh, how cute is your baby? Can I hold the baby? It's always the baby's at the center, which nothing's wrong with that. But moms get you. I feel like I'm learning so much even in this very group. And so keep in touch with women, stay in touch with women. As far as readjusting to the world, my only issue is just the fact that my sons are not going to be vaccinated. I believe in science, I believe in vaccination, and so I'm afraid of having them around people who are not going to be masked. So it's just practical science stuff that I'm afraid about. But I always tap back into my boundaries and being very strict about what I want, who I want around, and where to go, how to go. So just being very clear about my boundaries is important for me. Self-care really is just, back to the last question you asked, is practicing what I preach. I'm a therapist by daytime, and so I tell my patients and caregivers, which is the airplane mode or airplane model, where you have to put your mask before you put your someone else's. And so just being in touch with myself and finding knowing myself enough when I'm burnt out or when I'm about to be burnt out, and recognizing and rerouting myself to getting some self-care. I've made peace. Sorry, I just got a phone call. I made peace with the fact that self-care doesn't have to be going to the nail shop or getting a spa.
Right.
I've definitely acknowledged that it could just mean taking longer shower, warm shower that's like 5 minutes long, or just going to the bathroom with my phone and just hiding out in there for a little bit. That's self-care for me. And being able to find moments that spark joy, whether it's having my Mimo's coffee, shout out to Mimo's coffee, or, listen to my girlfriend, to our podcast, the shift is real, or Two Wives and a Spark, or other things that are bringing me joy. Is just supporting other people, living in my purpose, pouring into my career and relationships. And I think that if there's one takeaway for other moms and women that are watching, or just moms especially, is your kids are watching. They're not going to think you're a superhero by doing everything for them and other people. They're watching when you prioritize yourself, and you're normalizing and you're modeling for them when you stop and take care of yourself and are kind to yourself. Those are the lessons that you're not saying, but you're doing. They're watching. and I think that that's one thing that I would send home with you moms is just consider yourself and taking care of yourself, because it's never considered selfish. It's never considered, you're neglecting your family or your children. It just means that you're showing them to do you first and ask for help, outsource, like I said earlier, for things that you may not be able to have time to do.
Thank you so much for that. And I just want to reiterate something that you said that I think is absolutely so important. People often will focus on your children and not focus on you, and how that can be really challenging for mothers, right? Like, yes, you love your child, but you matter too, right? So you might go from getting gifts from your friends to only your kids get gifts from your friends, right? Or you might go from being supported in certain ways to people just constantly asking you, well, how about the kids? How about the kids? How about the kids, right? And that can be really challenging if, no matter how many children you have, if it seems like everyone is focused on your children more than you, right? And so just the notion of like creating space for yourself, because like you matter in a different way, but just as much as your children is really important. So I just wanted to just piggyback on like you acknowledging that. So thank you so much appreciated.
Thank you for having me.
Is there anything else that you want to share with folks before you transition?
No, I think I look forward to connecting with the moms on here. And for anyone who wants to connect with me, I'm on social media as well. My full name is Almaz Nugusa Bland. I realized my last name on here is NB. Social media, you can find me under Zamla Organics. It's ZAMLA Organics with the S. I look forward to connecting with you. I'm super excited about women care, hair care. Like I said earlier, I have hair oils and other products to come, but I'm also a therapist by day, and I'm super passionate about Black women and girls. And this space is very important, and we look forward to supporting Coco Coalition. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. So as we transition into the last part of the program, just want to give you opportunity. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the Q&A, or you can drop them in the chat and we'll pick them up. Want to give other two panelists, or what? Well, none of y'all answered the question. So I want to give y'all the opportunity to answer the question, what self-care is looking like for you nowadays, very briefly. And then if we have any questions, then we'll answer those and wrap up. So let's go ahead and start with Crystal. Crystal, what's self-care looking like for you nowadays?
Self-care. I love my self-care. I think self-care for me has been not doing anything and having, my husband, he takes the kids out to the park, to the baseball game. And I said, I'm not going to the baseball game today, but I will check in and see how it went later, and just giving myself permission to enjoy myself the way I want to enjoy myself, which may be watching a movie, maybe sleeping, and maybe just eating, just catching up on things. I think that's the beauty of self-care. You get to define it as you want to. And speaking of self-care, I wouldn't be able to do that unless I had a good support system. So I appreciate my husband for being available, my mom who watches the kids 24/7, and my mother-in-law back in the day. So I've had a great support system. And I remember the times where I needed folks. I remember distinctly when my daughter was born. I remember my cousin Venus had came over and she said, "You need help with something?" I said, "Yeah, just hold her. I need just hold her. I'm gonna take a shower." Or she went to, I think she went to the store to get me some formula, and I was trying to nurse, and the milk wasn't coming out. And as a mom, you just stressed. You're tired, exhausted. I remember, during morning sickness, my mom would come over just to clean my house because you don't feel like doing nothing. So having people in your lives to help. I know my sister-in-law Tiana, she would take my older sons just to get away. And sometimes you just need that as a mom. So self-care to me just means employing your resources so that you can have some time for yourself. Every 3 months, I go on a trip with my mommy friends without the kids and without the husband. Oh my goodness, let me tell you how beneficial that is. I come back feeling great. So I want to encourage that. Sometimes you have to just say, I'm doing it for myself because if I take care of myself, I'm sure going to take care of you. So I used to feel guilty about that, but I've been doing this for about 4 years now. Every quarter, we go to Santa Cruz, Lake Tahoe. I don't care. We pick a place to go, get an Airbnb. We may get a chef. We may go out to eat, but we have time just to. It's not every other month. It's once a quarter. And shout out to my husband. I think you're the only male on the panel, the attendees right now. So thank you for coming on. But again, having my time for myself is really important. And what that looks like for me is carving out that time and communicating that this is what I need. Granted, I think someone had mentioned it earlier. I think Jennifer said that sometimes you don't know what you need and you just irritated and annoyed and frustrated. And luckily, people could read my signs a little bit better now compared to a few years ago. And they would just give me food. Like, here's a cupcake. I'm like, that's all I needed, you know. So I just appreciate that, the support that I do have so that I am able to take the self-care that I do need. And even if you don't, sometimes, it's okay to have a babysitter. It's okay to, have other people watch your children. I mean, as they get older, they can talk, they let you know what happened. But, just being okay with taking time for yourself and not feeling guilty about that. And so I don't feel guilty anymore. I used to back in the day, but now with my children, I said, no, I need it. You want me to be present and good for you, I gotta be present and good for myself. So, yep, you're on mute.
Thanks. Thank you so much for that. I actually have a question relating to that, and any of the three of y'all can answer. Does mom guilt ever go away? Even when I'm trying to do self-care, I feel distracted or tense because I feel like I should be with my son, doing housework, being with my husband. So yeah, any insight into that, and how do you, if it's something that you really had a challenge with, like how have you released it, or how do you at least try to release it in the moment? So anyone who might want to share. Go ahead, HJ.
So I don't think it ever really completely goes away. I think there's always a part, especially in a good mom. I think there's always a little bit of us going, wonder what they're doing, if they're okay. Let me check in. And then you hang up and go, okay, girl, pour me another drink. So there is a point where I think we learn to let it go. I think as newer moms have a hard time letting go. But for me, having all this vast range of children ages, there's a part where you learn, like the commercials, they have the Huggies commercials when you're a new mom and you pack the diaper bag and you fill it with everything. And do you have everything? And then by the third kid, you're like, yeah, just grab a wipe and let's go. You definitely get to a place where you accept that they're not going to die. Like, the house, I go, okay, is the house baby proofed? Is the glass locked? Is the cabinet cool? We good? All right. I'm going to go lock myself in the bathroom for a little bit and turn on the shower water with a glass of wine, and y'all are going to be alive when I come out. It's all good. That's part of my self-care, is making sure that my kids have things. I've let go of the guilt of, I let go during quarantine, the guilt of tablets and phones. Like, I used to be like, they can't be on the phone for longer than 30 minutes. One of the interview questions, the little ones just started preschool. And one of the questions was, how many hours a day do they spend on TV? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. They be on it. I've lost track. I've learned to be okay with, like Crystal said, and I think Jennifer said it too, you have to pour into yourself in order to be able to pour into them. And so I balance that guilt of, oh no, they need me, with, no, they need me to take care of me. And fortunately I have a husband who's amazing with them, and they've got an older sister, and I can't really count on the older brother, guys. But even if I didn't, I know they'll be, go play in your room for a little bit. Go turn on Alexa and play some Tyler music. You'll be fine. I'm going to go watch some Netflix and chill for a little bit. I think that's important. That's I love that Crystal said part of self-care sometimes is doing nothing. Sundays are my nothing days. Don't ask me for nothing. I'm not cooking. I'm not cleaning. I'm going to do nothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and
Thank
girl
you for
time.
that.
I've got my girls trip planned. Check. It's on my list. And getting my nails done. And 41 years, I've never really prioritized getting my hair and nails done because I've always had somebody else to take care of and make sure they had what they need. I literally have a little pot that I put my little nail and hair money in. And that's part of my time. I'm not taking nobody with me. And if I'm gone for 4 hours to get it done,
That's your business. That's your business.
It's my business,
right,
as Auntie Tabitha says. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for that so much. I mean, it sounds like your reframe is like, okay, remember HJ, like you need to do this for yourself, right? And I think like anything, when you're trying to shift your thoughts, like it's a muscle, right? Like it might be really hard at first, but the more that you get used to telling yourself it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, then maybe that lightens the guilt load a little bit, would you say? Yeah, Jennifer, you're shaking your head.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that it's got to be intentional, like I did an experiment to see how long the mom guilt stuck around. That, like I knew that it was going to take me down, like I knew that it was heavy. I experienced it, I felt it, and I knew, the state of mind that I was in as long as the guilt stayed. So you have to be intentional. You have to shoo it away, or it'll just linger, around somewhere. So, like I always just thought about what's best for my child as well. And guilt is just not it. You know what I mean? I think long term in terms of like, I really want my child to be independent like me, like I could figure my way out of anything. And they're not going to get there if I continue to protect them. They're not going to get there if I'm their only friend. Like
that's good.
Park. Yeah. I would send Zoe to the park and she would come back and she would say, Mommy, he doesn't want to play with me. And so before I would stop my work and go to the park so I could play with her, and then got to a point where it's just like, if he don't want to play with you, you got your brother. That's why I had 2 kids, like just go play with your brother. I want her to be able to defend herself and figure things out like me. And I can't do that if I always protect her, and I see people that are walking around the world now, and it's unfortunate because they had no say in how their mom raised them, right? So I'm just like, dang, like she was really sheltered or he was really sheltered, and I was the complete opposite of that. So as much as I want to tap into, being a mom, sometimes you just gotta go and let them fall, let them figure it out, and they'll survive. Like I said, they'll figure it out. Eventually. But those are the things that you have to tell yourself when you're getting so overwhelmed by guilt. Right. Broaden the horizon and look at the bigger picture. And
that's great.
Is guilt what's best? Probably not, right? Because if they see you worrying about them, then they start worrying about you. Like, what if every time you decided to step out, they're like, "No, Mom, you're like, be careful," Like,
I have a quick little tip or story to add to that. So my husband grew up every Friday. His mom would cook dinner for the dad and wouldn't cook for the kids. And I would be like, she wouldn't cook for you guys. She would just cook for dad. And there it was called, they were, fend for yourself, or you're on your own. And I thought it was like the most horrible thing ever. Like, you just got to figure it out. Like you have to be like a teenager, right? He was like, no, like we was like 5. So he started implementing that with the boys when they were probably about 6, 7.
Yes.
And so on Fridays, we don't cook dinner. The grown-ups, we might cook for each other. He might go out and buy dinner, but the kids have to figure out dinner on. Obviously, we make sure there's groceries in the house and there's things that they can make. But that survival skill. And for him, he
Yes.
was very intentional about it. Like, he's like,
Yes.
no, there are things they are going to figure out now, so that when they're older, they're not looking for somebody to say, well, I don't know how to cook. So now my 12-year-old is very capable of going in the kitchen and making a meal.
Exactly.
And I'm like, I now look at my husband and go, okay.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
Thank y'all so much for that. There's something that I just wanted to read. I think KK's mom shared. When she's feeling guilty, she says to herself, I am important enough to take care of and prioritize myself. And I think that I mean, just based off what all y'all are saying, right? Like, these are things you have to like literally tell yourself, and you know, maybe following up to something that most of y'all said, like, have girlfriends or have people that you can lean on that also affirm that too, you know, even if that does help a little bit. So I just want to say thank y'all so much, so much, for all your insight, your authenticity, your transparency. It's so appreciated. And you know, we just really like to create these spaces in general for Black women to just they could just take off the mask and take off the cloaks and take off the cape and all the stuff and just like be here, you know. And especially as mothers, like, that's so much more, you know, responsibility, right? Regardless if it's enjoyable or not enjoyable or somewhere in between, right? So just thank y'all so much. Is there any last words that you want to share about, you know, what you're doing? You know, what people can, you know, any plugs that you want to give?
Well, I just want to, you know, like, encourage the moms out there, for the dads out there, for the grandmas out there, you know, like, to create your new normal, you know, create your own normal, do what makes you happy. There is really no failure, you know, unless you if you redefine it, right? Like, it's all just lessons. And, you know, like I said, I recently started a business late last year. I make wigs, you know, like, I install hair, I sell bundles. And just, you know, DM me, talk through, you know, like, I'm as open as I am on this I'm just as open as in person. You know, like, you have any questions on what it's like to manage work or manage kids all at the same time, ask me. You have any questions on what it's like to be a new entrepreneur, and, you know, like, what are the ins and outs of quarantine, or just like, what do I do with my wig, or I need to work out, like, how do I keep my hair splayed and then work out at the same time, whatever the case may be, you know what I mean? Like, I am going through likely the same struggles as a lot of moms that are going through. So we always have something to give. And if not, you know, there's always encouragement and advice. So, you know, like, motherhood is hard, but, you know, like, suffering in silence is harder, you know, so tell a friend, talk to people.
Thank you for that. Suffering in silence is harder. Yeah. Any other last words?
I want to say thank you to Coco Coalition for having me. And it's kind of like what Jennifer said, you know, we all are dealing with the same things, you know. And one thing I want to emphasize is that it's okay to reach out for support if you need to, you know. You know, sometimes we are dealing with things that we just need extra support with. And so I do want to encourage those to reach out if you need more support with either a therapist or talking to your mom or your family member. You know, it's okay to be able to say, I need help. I do want to plug in my business, Bridges to Life, is a business that helps support especially minorities with counseling, discounted services for couples or individuals, even children. And so my website is bridgestolife.live, or you can email me at bridgestolife.live as well. So looking forward to just connecting with you all ongoing, but just know that there are resources out there and don't be afraid to reach out for them.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Crystal. HA, any last words, sis?
You guys can reach out to me on Instagram at Health Coach HJ. Like I said, I do also own a clothing and apparel line with my oldest daughter. It's www.fierceperiod.com. And we offer also meal plans and fitness and virtual training and all that stuff. However, I can pour into the community, I am here. You can always reach out to me about entrepreneurship and motherhood and marriage. And, you know, depending on the day and my mood, you might get a really good response.
Thank y'all again so much. Again, just so appreciative of you taking the time out of your day. And Jen is in Maryland, so it is definitely bedtime. Just a couple of things about Coco Coalition. If you're not already subscribed, feel free to subscribe to us. CocoCoalition.org. We are launching applications for our scholarships next month. So if you know any women in college, we're going to open the scholarship application up next month, taking it to July. We have a mental health, civic engagement, and arts-based scholarship. Also, thank you for all of you who have donated to us as you registered for your tickets. You know, as a nonprofit, we are always welcoming love and seeds from folks. And so you can always donate. We also have options for you to have monthly donations as well. And yeah, if there's anything that any feedback you want to give us, please feel free to do. If you want to email us about anything, and we just thank you so much for everything. Lastly, we are on Instagram, Coco Coalition, Facebook, Coco Coalition. Instagram and Facebook both have fundraiser options. So if it's your birthday and you want to randomly fundraise for us, you feel free to do that. If you're just feeling excited and you want to randomly fundraise for us, you can. Juneteenth is going to be coming up. You can randomly fundraise for us. So we are just open to all the fundraising. It's a community effort, and we love to just be able to offer things to everyone. So thank y'all so much. Have a blessed night.